Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I would like to welcome everybody to this SEM 12 side meeting on cutting-edge transmission technologies for cross-border electricity trade. The session is organized under the auspices of the Regional and Global Energy Interconnection SEM initiative. I'm Philip Cornell. I'm a principal at the Economist Intelligence Unit. I'm a senior fellow at the Atlantic Council Global Energy Center, and I also serve as the acting coordinator of this initiative. Before we begin, let me pass the floor to Dr. Yang Q.B. of GuideCo, the operating agent of the multinational SEM initiatives, to offer some brief welcome remarks. Dr. B.
Thank you very much. Dear distinguished guests, firstly, on behalf of Global Energy Interconnection, Development and Cooperation Organization, the operating agent of RGEI initiative, it is my honor to deliver the opening speech in this roundtable meeting today. And we really appreciate National Energy Administration of China, Ministry of Science and Technology of China, and Secretariat of Clean Energy Ministerial for their long-standing guidance and support to RGEI initiative in their past years. And we also would like to thank you all the RGEI member countries and global partners for your active participation and continuous support. RGEI initiative facilitates the transition of energy system to electricity-centered and interconnected modern energy systems. Featuring high penetration of clean energy, grid interconnection is expected to an optimal leverage to comprehensively promote clean energy development and large-scale distribution with a remarkable improved efficiency, effectiveness, and quality. This will achieve the goals set by the Clean Energy Minister to achieve a fundamental systematic, technologically advanced, cost-effective, and win-win solution for all of us. We hold this aim. We worked together to set up the regional and global energy interconnection initiative. Recently, more and more governments raised their specific goals on the carbon peak and carbon neutral to tackle their climate change. The RGEI initiative brings us an ambition today in an attempt to distribute clean energy in large scale to reduce fossil fuels consumption. That will build us a better and cleaner world. That is what RGEI want to share to international community. And that is also a meaningful thing we can do for the world. Based on the sharing experience of regional energy interconnection, the RGEI initiative has successfully organized 14 monthly webinars since 2019, which has gradually become an important and active global platform for interacting in energy interconnection field. The webinars invited the renowned experts from North America, South America, Europe, Northeast Asia, Southeast Asia, South Asia, Africa, Middle East, and North Africa to share their individual experience or lessons, and received highly commendation from the global community. We have confidence in promoting the RGEI initiative more efficiently with the RGEI member countries and all the partners' joint effort. I recommend both the member countries and the partners should work together to facilitate energy integration and benefit us all. We wish more resources being brought based on our respective advantages, deeper research being commenced on clean energy development, regional interconnection, technologies, marketing mechanism, as well as policies and regulations in this field. It is very proud of us to work with all of you in building a community with a shared future for mankind. I wish the event a great success. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you very much, Dr. B, for your comments. As the energy transition gathers pace and more electrified economies are powered by cleaner energy, as Dr. B mentioned, energy trade will be critical for matching renewable supply and demand across regions. And for now, cross-border electricity flows are the best way to do that, particularly to balance more variable generation across wider grids without the need for a lot of additional reserve capacity. So together with advances in storage and demand-side management, interconnected grids and markets will be a key factor in getting to very high renewable power systems. And pooling together can also help to meet rising demand at lower cost, which is a very valuable attractive proposition for fiscally constrained post-COVID economies. And as Dr. B mentioned, the RGEI initiative aims to support that process and to enable interconnected markets through policy dialogue while addressing key challenges like cybersecurity and technology access by serving as a forum for champions of regional power trade in the public and private sectors. So the RGEI Roundtable brings together, in this case, today, industry leaders to discuss how cutting-edge transmission and grid management technologies can contribute to international electricity system integration. Cross-border trade is enabled by ongoing technological innovation, driven by an industry that's investing in R&D to deliver increasing amounts of power between countries in demanding technical and geographic circumstances. So from new frontiers for high voltage, undersea, underground, overland transmission lines, to cybersecurity on the transmission grid, to grid stabilisation technology and platforms for cross-border trade, new technologies are facilitating greater international interconnection. So in this session, we have brought together a truly exceptional group of industry leaders from leading technology developers, suppliers, and operators. And let me introduce the four of them now. Dr. Gerhard Salge is the Chief Technology Officer for Hitachi ABB Power Grids. He joined Hitachi ABB's predecessor in 1999 in corporate research, progressing to Global Technology Manager, and in 2015 became Global Head of Technology for Power Products, and the CTO in 2016. Dr. Zhao Jing is Chief Strategy Officer for TBEA, a provider of systemic grid solutions for the global energy industry. Before joining TBEA in 2017, he was Deputy Division Director at State Grid Corporation of China, responsible for SGCC's overseas investment, power interconnection, and overseas business planning. Manlio Coviello is president of the board of TERNA Plus, the branch of the Italian transmission company TERNA, which is devoted to the expansion of foreign business. He's currently the CEO of TERNA Chile, TERNA Peru, TERNA for Chacas in Peru, and president of the board of those companies, in addition to Transmisora Santa Maria, Lina Verde, Santa Lucia in Brazil, and Difebal in Uruguay. Olivier Grabette is Senior EVP of Industrial Affairs at RTE. Olivier Grabette, in 2012, led the creation of the R&D department, and since 2014, he has been supporting RTE with the French TSO's presidency in steering innovation on smart grids. Since November 2020, he's led the European Industrial Affairs Department to foster greater contribution of RTE to the European Green Deal and European recovery plans. So let me pass it on to our first speaker, Dr. Gerhard Salge. And let me just pose to all of you the overall question in this. What are some cutting edge transmission technologies and how are they opening up cross-border electricity trade around the world? Please, Dr. Salge.
Thank you very much, Philip. It's a pleasure for me to be here today and really to be part of this interesting discussion. For us at Hitachi ABB Power Grids, this vision towards the carbon neutral energy system of the future, which was outlined nicely in the introduction, crystallizes into three key building blocks. The first one is the acceleration from the fossil-based to the renewable power generation. The second one is the growing electrification of all the sectors, transportation, industry, and building. And the third one is to complement direct electrification wherever needed with sustainable energy carriers. Now, you said already that this is, in terms of interconnected power systems, really putting additional and new challenges onto the system. And the two key challenges which we see is the power system capacity, which needs to massively grow, and also at the same time to manage the increased grid complexity with new and evolving technologies. And from a technology perspective, to get directly into that one, it's usually the combination of power electronics and digitalization, which is the key to open these new opportunities and to manage the challenges. This goes into the interconnection in combination with new protection and control, which needs to become more adaptive and flexible, and also connecting then storage capacities around the world in a flexible way. Now, to outline a bit more from a technology perspective what needs to be done. In order to integrate in a massive way renewables into the grid, and we are talking here really significant, huge increases of renewable power which needs to be connected, we need to really tap all possible resources we can get. And of course, the most efficient locations are the ones we need to look at. And those are sometimes close, but sometimes also far away from the load centers. So we need to have flexible interconnection solutions here, which can bridge very long distances with very low losses, which can interconnect and build on today's existing power systems and make them more flexible, more powerful, and then also balance solar and wind profiles across the regions. We need to take care of time zone effects so that we use them in our favor, and the same also with climatic zones. And always then that ends up in this interconnection, short, mid, and long distances. Interconnection technology like HVDC, like the converter-based electronics solution here, they can at the same time not only transfer high amounts of energy, they can also support the power quality aspects which we need when we interconnect grids, which to some extent today are synchronized, but many of them are not synchronized. And that's something where I'm sure we will come in the discussion to these points. We need to manage this interconnection on all distances, short, mid, and long distance. But also we need to utilize as much as possible the interconnection to efficiently introduce storage aspects. Especially when it comes to the seasonal aspects, it's a key fundamental thing that we use storage efficiently. Otherwise, the need for storage is simply too big to be managed. So all this really interesting topics to go here into this great discussion round today towards our common target of a carbon neutral future energy system.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Dr. Salge, and we're very much looking forward to hearing more in the discussion about those topics. Let me pass it now to Dr. Zhao Jing, Chief Strategy Officer at TBEA. Dr. Zhao, what is the view from China and from your experience on these topics?
Hi, everyone. Good morning. It's my pleasure to attend this meeting. And for my experience, I was responsible for interconnection projects of SGCC, State Grid Corporation of China, with bordering countries from 2005 till 2016. For my experience, I think for now, for the interconnection between different countries projects, we need to deal two main questions. The first is, since we have to transmit more renewable energy, and we need to use HVDC technology for the transmission, because the distance, the length of the transmission line is relatively long. Maybe HVDC is the reasonable technical solution for this transmission line. But the availability or the fluctuation of renewable energy will damage the HVDC transmission system. You know, for traditional HVDC, not HVDC flexible transmission system, there's a demand for the minimum transmission capacity through the transmission system. But if this transmission line is carrying only renewable energy, so this is impossible for this HVDC system to run effectively, to run normally. So I think this is the first challenge that we need to deal with. In China, we have developed first 800 kV HVDC flexible HVDC projects in southern China. I think maybe it will provide a better solution for interconnection projects between different countries. The second issue I want to address is that the cost of the interconnection system still need to be reduced to serve the need of the receiving end, receiving customers' need. Okay, that's 2 points from me. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you very much, Dr. Zhao. I think your experience from SGCC will be extremely important in this conversation. Let me pass now to our two system operators, and let me pass first to Mr. Manlio Coviello from TERNA Plus.
Yes, good morning, everybody. Let me first introduce myself and my company. Some of you maybe haven't heard about TERNA. I'm Manlio Coviello, president of TERNA Plus. Is the TERNA Group company for responsible developing new business around the globe. TERNA is the Italian TSO, transmission system operator, with more than 70,000 kilometers of high and very high voltage lines, is the largest grid operator for the transmission electricity in Europe. And through the 26 interconnection lines with foreign countries currently in operation, TERNA guarantees the integration of the Italian electricity transmission grid with the European grid and beyond, allowing the reduction of energy supply costs for the Italian consumer and management in security of the national system. This occasion, as a matter of fact, is particularly important for us. And let me tell you that I'm very pleased to participate in this discussion, since TERNA, as a TSO, is engaged in driving and enabling the ecological transition in order to create a new development model based on renewable sources and respect for the environment. Sustainability, innovation, and technology are behind everything we do. The drive towards the decarbonization of the energy sector is reflected at international level, as you know, by the United Nations Sustainable Development Goals and European policy. And in Italy specifically, we have the integrated national plan for energy and climate, which envisages the complete phase out of coal by 2025, followed in 2030 by the goal of meeting more than 55% of gross electricity consumption from renewable sources. As you see, is a large challenges for us. But the increasing penetration of renewable energy and continued decommissioning of conventional thermal capacity pose bigger challenges to the TSO, impacting mainly in two crucial aspects. The first one is grid planning, and the second is grid management in a context of ever-increasing complexity of energy system. And this will be a typical issue for the next year. But to successfully meet these challenges, ensuring that the integration of renewable sources provide the necessary security and meets the need of development of the grid, the company's 5-year industrial plan envisages significant increase in investment, and more than 9 billion in investment, of which more than 5 on increasing transmission capacity. And the major part coming now to connect technology will be in delivering a plan on high voltage direct current HVDC submarine cables through the Tyrrhenian link, the Tyrrhenian Sea, from Campania, Sicily, and Sardinia. So, as you see, large challenges in innovation, technology, digitalization in this path toward ecological transition. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Manlio. And as you say, TERNA's experience, I think, in the Mediterranean and plans for big interconnection is something we'll want to hear about. Let me pass now to our other TSO, Olivier Grabette from RTE. Olivier.
Good morning, everybody. It's my pleasure to be with you for this roundtable. So RTE is the French transmission system operator, the neighbor of TERNA, and we have a long history in terms of cooperation with TERNA in Europe. As it has been already said, large-scale interconnected grid is a clear advantage to welcome high share of renewables. And so as a TSO, what we do need is to be able to anticipate the development of the grid, and especially using the potential of the coming technology. And so I would like to share with you a testimony about our experience in terms of difficulties and succeed in developing interconnection, and just to illustrate a few challenges that we have to tackle for the future. So it's clear that HVDC technology opened a new era, and for us, it starts with the possibility to develop the new interconnection with Spain, which started in 2008, and that was commissioned in 2015. after more than 20 years of difficulties to develop a new link between France and Spain. And we now see more than developing interconnection, how the HVDC technologies are also crucial to connect the offshore wind farm. And if those technology had a strong development for the last decade, there are a lot of challenges to be tackled. First of all, we have to reduce the cost of the HVDC technologies, and especially to be able to develop the potential of offshore wind farm. We can see that the generation technologies for wind farm reduce the cost very strongly during the last years, and it's not the case with the transmission links. And so we expect also from our supplier to be able to develop new technologies with better cost in order to reduce the cost of the other transmission of the energy. So one of the ways to do that is perhaps to increase the voltage, and especially if we want to develop longer range connection, for example, between Europe and North Africa. And we know that, for example, in Europe, and Mr. Timmermans remind that the success of the energy transition in Europe will pass through the connection with the other continent, and especially with Africa, which is close to us. But one of the challenges we have to face, and that are not only technical, is to develop interoperability between converters. It's a very sensitive topic, and we have this experience to be part of the European Best Path project, who had this ambition to develop interoperability. And we face a lot of difficulties, and especially regarding the strategy of different suppliers. And we know it's a crucial question regarding the patents. But I think that we have no other way than to find a solution to be able to have technologies that are interoperable, just to be able to develop the new HVDC link. One of the other challenge is the sustainability of the technologies, and especially for the cable part of the HVDC link in Europe, and especially we do not use the overhead lines for HVDC technologies because of the acceptability of the people regarding the project. And so we have a big challenge to develop new technologies in cable, and perhaps superconductivity could be explored more in terms of R&D, and superconductivity for high voltage and high power link is probably one of the crucial challenge that we have to tackle to allow the high power transmission through interconnection using less materials. But to do that as well, also we need to include that in the grid. And as it has been mentioned by my colleague from TERNA, we have this responsibility about the stability of the grid. And so what we do need also is to have good simulation models and tools in order to, from the design stage up to the maintenance stage, to be able to simulate the behavior of those very complex technologies, and especially when you have those HVDC links that are in the middle of the meshed AC grid with very complex phenomena. And as we will have a strong development of the DC technologies, and especially with renewable generation, we need to be able to simulate. And to be able to do that, we need large-scale cooperation, because there is no relevant simulation without transparency in the data, without access to the model. And so I think that it's a very important field of cooperation to develop simulation tools just to be able to anticipate the behaviors of these very complex technologies. So it's, and probably as it is one of the topics we are speaking a lot at the moment, the quantum computer will open new opportunities to increase the possibilities of simulation and just to accelerate the integration of the HVDC technologies. So, so it's why I'm happy to join this roundtable with this objective also, not only to speak about technologies, but also about cooperation. Thank you.
Great. Thank you very much, Mr. Grabette, and to all of you. I think it's very important what you were discussing about the need for cooperation, particularly in places like Europe and the much more interconnected grid nature of HVDC applications. I mean, to date, HVDC applications have usually been, 100-kilometer plus point-to-point connections, and it seems like we're moving to a next step to HVDC in a grid setting, particularly with multi-terminal applications. And in Europe, in particular, we're starting to see much larger projects, and I'm thinking notably, for example, the Denmark North Sea Energy Island concept, where we see a hub for offshore wind and large interconnections in the North Sea. So maybe I can ask first to Dr. Salge, where Hitachi ABB is very involved in a lot of these large projects, particularly on the converter, but also on the project management side, and also to our two European TSOs. What does this mean for the future of European HVDC interconnections as we start to have these integrated grids? And what's the necessary cooperation that we're talking about that has to happen between, for example, the technology suppliers like Hitachi ABB and the TSOs that are involved?
Right, thanks, Philip, for outlining this. And as just mentioned, also Olivier Grabette mentioned already quite a number of the key points really in this. Now, Europe, from an interconnection perspective, in a way is a front runner, not necessarily from the highest voltage levels or highest power levels, but in a way that we have a strong interconnection over decades in the meantime, in between countries, in between non-synchronized subsystems, so to say, and that of course requires, from a technology perspective, already a front-running role, but also from the collaboration and trust perspective of the partners, of all the stakeholders dealing with each other. So that's why I think it's a good example to elaborate here a little bit more. It was mentioned cable connections are important, and then with the converter technology, and when I just look at a recently launched project or a project which has started or went into operation, which is the NordLink in between Norway and Germany, that has those elements. A new cable length, which is really several hundred kilometers long, in combination with the most modern VSC technology on the converter configuration. So it cannot just flexibly link water storage options in Norway to a renewable energy and fluctuating energy generation in Germany. It can also provide grid support functionalities. And when we are looking also what we see already in other places of the world, and that can be in Scotland, that can be in India, that can be in China, we are seeing multi-terminal, and we are seeing the development also to DC grids. And that's what you also indicated, and also what Olivier said. We need here flexible solutions which can build on where we are today, because we usually always start brownfield with the grids and not greenfield. So we need to be able to upgrade solutions to the most modern DC technologies, always connected and embedded with AC, but then also going towards DC systems and also then interoperable, as Olivier was saying. That's a key. That's where we need to work together. We need to define and standardize interfaces here and build collaborative teams across really all the stakeholders. I think those are the key elements. And when I say collaboration, it requires really trust and collaboration on the technical side, but also really on the business model and economical side. Because you need to manage then the connection of countries, you need to manage the different stakeholders for the investments and also for the payback. So it really has good and interesting and manageable challenges on the technical side, but the same needs to be done also on the business model side.
Great, thank you very much. And maybe, Olivier, I can pass back to you again. You mentioned a lot about the need for this cooperation on the modeling and on the business cooperation side. What's been the experience from RTE since your obviously groundbreaking transmission links to Spain, but also now as we're looking to some of the sort of more complex grid and offshore HVDC links in the North Sea? How is RTE dealing with some of those cooperation aspects?
So first, the experience we have with the interconnection with Spain, but also I can speak with about the experience with TERNA, because we have a project also across Alps and mountain just to develop a new HVDC link. First is to be able, as Gerhard said, to build confidence in order to work together. And so one of the very instructive experience we had is to speak about our specification, because each country has its own habits. And so it's very important, even for the supplier, to be able to reduce the cost, to build and to work on interoperability, for the TSO also to work together just to try to reduce the difference between the different specification when they want to order an HVDC converter. So it's one of the experience we had, and we would like, and it's especially a thematic we used to speak in the framework of the group of TSO CEO who meet several times a year, just this ambition to contribute to the energy transition through an alignment of our technical specification in order to be able to work with the suppliers and to increase, to accelerate the development of those technologies. And in terms of simulation, what we I can give also an illustration about our strategy. Our strategy is based on open source, and so it's why we launched with the Linux Foundation a few years ago a new chapter of open source software for electricity grid. And so even, for example, in the telecom industry, they have a strong experience in using open source to make business. It's not the case with electricity business, and so it's something that we have to learn together, because I think it's one of the good way also to develop models and simulation tools in order to anticipate the behavior of the complex system in the grid.
Yes, absolutely. So, so integrating open source technologies into the grid, particularly for managing those cross-border flows, will be very important. Mr. Coviello, we heard a little bit now about the cooperation with TERNA, not only across the Alps, but TERNA is also introducing some large undersea connections, I would say, to Montenegro. There's some more planned to Greece, and managing the sort of cross-border exchange and grid stability and synchronicity is obviously an important part of those connections as well. You saw TERNA has just introduced 2 new static synchronous compensators for stabilizing the grid in the context of variable renewable energy, particularly in that connection with Montenegro. What's been your experience in Italy and also with all of your foreign subsidiaries in terms of the technologies required to introduce these new HVDC connections and the cooperation and the business cooperation we've been hearing about that's necessary on the ground?
Yes, thank you, Philip, for your interesting question, and is a relevant issue for us. But let me first go back to cooperation or coordination, as you said. I mean, energy transitions entails a set of essential coordinated and consistent actions. So energy transition is a long-term vision and package of doing things in a sustainable way in the electricity system. So one of the most important challenges is represented by investing in national grid and cross-border interconnection, particularly for us in Europe and in Southern Europe even more. And this is intended to strengthen the meshing of the grid and reduce congestion. At the end of the day, this is the main target. And in this context of technological evolution, HVDC technology plays an absolutely fundamental role in the field, and as one of, as we say, key facilitator of energy transition. So this is the wording in our mind. The development Italian system, electricity system, is a clear, obvious example of this. And due to the HVDC's ability to linearly transfer energy across large distances using both overhead and undersea cables, direct current is a management characteristic of growing interest of the TSO in Europe and all over the world. Advancements in technology now make HVDC technology more reliable and easier to implement, and in many cases, financially convenient. Let's talk TERNA experience, as you said. Among HVDC connection realized by TERNA, I would like to mention the 600 megawatt HVDC Italy-Montenegro interconnection, which in our view represents a true technological excellence. It entered in operation at the end of 2019 with a total length of 445 kilometers. Is the longest undersea link ever realized by TERNA, laid at 1,200 meters and up to 700 meters underground. TERNA has previously built interconnection and converter station using the same technology, but never at these record numbers. And for example, a connection between Sardinia, Corsica, and Tuscany, and the one between Greece and Puglia, and the one between Sardinia and Lazio. And of course, we are also thinking and considering the possibility to connect Africa through Tunisia. But specifically, the connection between Italy and Montenegro has the particularity of having the most powerful converter ever built by TERNA, and for each converter station there are 7 conversions transformers over 400 tons each, 4 reactors, 6 filters, 6 building of height up more than 20 meters, and so is a large development. It is a complex development, and during 2020 approximately 1,600 gigawatt hour were imported from, and approximately 1,000 gigawatt hour exported to Montenegro. So it's a very interesting thing, because this is crucial for the energy integration of the entire Balkan area and the European Union. So this is the strategic value of this high-level technological project. Thank you.
Great, thanks. And clearly, sort of connecting those countries and those continents makes a big strategic difference to the future of the European grid. But I'd like to also move now to Asia. Dr. Zhao, clearly, Europe was sort of the beginning locus for the development of HVDC technology. ABB was very much at the forefront. Big cooperation going on with SGCC in the past 15 years, and we've seen massive expansion of HVDC technology inside China, where the application has really come to maturity, but also big interconnections between China and many of its neighbors, and the use of HVDC technology for interconnections in Asia, where we're also now starting to see whole new projects, for example, the Sunlink from Australia to Singapore, that are opening new country pairs across the world. What has been the Chinese experience or State Grid's experience, or your own current experience with the kind of cooperation that our other guests have mentioned, and the technologies to allow some of the new interconnections in Asia and in China?
Okay, thank you. For my knowledge, according to my knowledge, now for China, we mainly interconnect with Southeast Asian countries through traditional AV transmission lines. Because the voltage, the system of bordering countries of southern China is relatively weak. They don't have such capacity to support HVDC system such as a 500 kV or 800 kV system to export or import electricity at that amount with China. And for our bordering countries with Mongolia, Russia, and Kazakhstan, maybe 20 years, 15 years to 20 years ago, I was responsible for the project of the interconnection transmission system with these three countries. At that time, SGCC was planning to build coal power plants in these three countries and transmitted electricity from these three countries to northern China. But as time goes by, the cross-border electricity trade is very difficult because the price in negotiation is a long term. It's a very will cost a long time. It is different situation here compared with European countries, because European countries, namely different countries, but you have European Union have set up the cross-border trading arrangements for different countries, not only for electricity, but also for all kinds of commodities. You already have a cross-border trading system, very mature. So this in Asia, we don't have such cross-border trading arrangements like European Union countries. So for each transmission line, I think we need to negotiate. This is a big difference with European countries. So for the future, I think it is possible to develop large capacity renewable energy in northern bordering countries of China, such as Mongolia and Russia and Kazakhstan. And using this transmission system, HVDC, flexible HVDC system, to transmit them from to northeast China, to North China or East China and Central China. When we talk about the distance is about 3,000 to 4,500 kilometers long. We need to use 800 kV or 1,100 kV DC transmission line to implement such transmission. For the system control in this area, it is not a very difficult problem for China, because we have such a very big synchronous system in East China and Northern China, and also Central China. We call three China system. It is a synchronous AV system, so we can accommodate such tens or hundreds of gigawatt renewable energy from long distance. Okay, that's a scenario in China and also in Asian countries. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Dr. Zhao. So connecting with asynchronous or alternative systems abroad can be difficult unless we're connecting to dedicated renewable projects. Dr. Salge, maybe we can talk a little bit about R&D cooperations. Obviously, ABB in particular has had a lot of activity in Asia and cooperation with the Chinese to expand HVDC and develop things like new technologies for gas-cooled underground links. We talked a little about superconductivity, which ABB has been working on. What has been the experience of international cooperation in the area of grid technology R&D, and is there, some are concerned obviously with geopolitical tensions about things like technology ecosystems. Is that a real concern, and what's the activities and international R&D cooperation that's been happening?
Right. As a technology provider, of course, we are really fostering collaboration here. Yeah, and let me also outline a bit where how that benefits really. We had the pleasure to be part of the most powerful HVDC and longest HVDC line in the world in China, the more than 3,000 kilometers, 12 gigawatt Shaanxi-Guquan line. At the same time, part of the first DC grid on the Shanghai project, but then also India, Northeast Agra, and some learnings from there, of course, and experiences are helping us around the world. And the other way around, what was mentioned before, the aspects of cross-country collaboration and what it needs there in Europe is helping us then in again, other regions. So that's really this collaboration and this learning and experiences around the world are one key element really in order to make innovation really down to earth, executable and tangible and usable. Now, a really concrete example, I mean, in the past, long distances, always the LCC technology was used in HVDC because of the lower losses and the good enough performance. Now, we have been pushing the VSC technology down to the same converter losses as LCC had in the past. So now we have the same losses, but we have all the other functionalities which we can provide, grid support functionality, faster change up even to black start capabilities. And when you see how we are using this now in the already mentioned Norway-Germany connection, but also when we are looking into Scotland, the Shetland Island project, where we are now really stage by stage, first supporting the grid, linking an island, and having the capability to link offshore farms. This is really where collaboration shows its fruit, and when you are transporting experiences and learnings from one area to the next. And let me mention one more element, the offshore trend to tap the renewables really here, the wind mainly. And we had a bit of discussion around that we need this in interoperability and energy islands. This needs compactness, for example. This needs also the then of course the low losses, but also the control, flexibility, and so on. And this is what we are learning in partnerships around the world with our customers, but also with our peers, and working together there. This is what really makes a difference, and transporting that to countries and regions which have less experience, and then really jumping there into the future in a faster track. Because if we want to have a chance to really match the carbon neutral targets around the world, we need to help each other and learn from each other as fast as possible and deploy the most modern, always future fit technologies wherever we make investments. Not good enough for today is not the right thing to do. It needs to be future fit with the most modern, flexible technologies.
Thank you very much. Now, we're coming to the end of our time, but I wanted to get into one more topic. We've talked a lot about the need for interoperability and cooperation, particularly with much more digitized systems and the use of converters and digitized sort of cross-border management systems. And that brings up the issue of how we deal with cybersecurity concerns, particularly between different jurisdictions over the transmission networks. So maybe I can go back to our TSOs, maybe first to Olivier, and ask you, how do you manage cybersecurity along the network, particularly in some of your cross-border interconnections, and what are some of the risks that you're dealing with in that area?
So yes, it's clearly a very important topic, and so we have the experience for years now to have our own supervision room just to check on a real-time basis what happened on a telecom grid, and so we intend now to operate this room 24 hours per day and 7 days per week. It's the first step, and as it has been mentioned for other topics, what we want to do is to develop cooperation, and especially with other TSO, and it's a reason why we are also fully committed to develop those cooperation through NSOE, TSO Association in Europe, but also with some specific TSO that developed high skill in cybersecurity. One of the difficulties that we do have, and it's reason why also we need to develop cooperation with all the business, is that to be able to maintain high skill experts, and it's not possible for a single company such as RTE to be able to have this those experts, and so it's a field, as already expressed for HVDC, where we need to develop cooperation. Because at the very end, if we meet a problem with cybersecurity, everybody and everyone will lose.
Great. And Mr. Coviello, can I ask you also, what are the cybersecurity concerns and how are they managed from TERNA's perspective?
So, as we said before, one of the key enablers of ecological transition is innovation, is needed to managing complexity in the electricity system. And inside TERNA's innovation plans, which aim to adopt new digital technology to allow data to be gathered low cost, there are, of course, investment innovation that use digital solution also to enable the response to the complexity of the new energy sector, including cybersecurity, of course. And the constant evolution of cyber threats call for advanced cybersecurity operating models to enable the adequate prevention of and the reaction to attacks. And TERNA's Computer Emergency Readiness Team, which is TERNA CERT, or CERT, is the main point of contact we created for the collection of an analysis and sharing on information on cyber threats, to which our organization is exposed as all the other organizations. The CERT, TERNA CERT, consists of a group of IT security experts who works together with the common goal of protecting, of course, the security of TERNA group assets, including information assets, by examining, monitoring the evolution nature of these cyber threats and conducting to preventing of activity, managing IT emergency, coordinated response procedures. And our integrated approach allows us to tackle any possible foreseeable incident through the efficient management of communication and escalation procedures, both internally and externally, and through the effective coordination of response procedures. We collaborate, coming back to the coordination and collaboration words, with other Italian international organizations to promote interaction and information sharing on issues as new threats, IT attacks, new defense techniques, and weakness which may be exploited, including through the use of threat intelligence and info sharing platforms. So we are trying to have a global and coordinated vision regarding the cybersecurity here in Turkey.
Great, thanks you very much, Mr. Coviello. We're coming now to the end of our time on this discussion. This has been extremely interesting. My takeaway has very much been that what we're looking for here is really cooperation between institutions. That's between technology providers and the grid TSOs who are applying them, between TSOs for things like grid planning and management, for managing power quality, for managing cooperation and interoperability between converters of different systems, and obviously also for managing different kind of instances that might relate to security questions and different systems on both sides of a border. And the institutions that are necessary to ensure that kind of cooperation are also something that need to be addressed. So thank you very much to all of our speakers today. It's been really a pleasure to have such a distinguished panel. And thank you also to our audience at the Clean Energy Ministerial SEM 12. The RGEI initiative is going to continue to hold regular meetings among stakeholders of the cross-border energy interconnection community. So we hope that you on the panel will continue to join us for those, and the rest of our audience will continue to join us for future events. Thank you very much, and we wish everybody a good continuation to the rest of this SEM Ministerial. Thanks very much.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.